that it means that we deserve free health care for all. That is a pretty sweeping or a leaping jump to draw that conclusion, given the context of the Declaration of Independence, history, the Federalist Papers, and the general perception of small, limited government and personal responsibility on the part of our founders. Capitalist pig idiot. Now, there's some intelligent thought. So, hopefully, as I read that, got you thinking a little bit in terms of, I can just imagine sitting back here with my eyes closed. I don't care who the person was, what they looked like, what their occupation was, but it just seemed to me like so many inane sound bites trying to be jammed into one cohesive thought that, in effect, probably is an illogical thought, but nevertheless. Well, you're listening to the Palmetto Conservative Show here on the CB Media Network. Glad you're with us this evening. Be back after a short break. Stay tuned.
You said in the Rose Garden, the day after the attack, it was an act of terror. It was not a spontaneous demonstration. Is that what you're saying?
Please proceed, Governor.
It is in response to a video, a film. This is in response to a video.
Internet video that we had nothing to do with.
That was spontaneous? Was it a planned attack? Was there a terrorist element to it?
This is a response to a hateful and offensive video.
The video and its influence on the protests that occurred in Cairo and Benghazi. In response to this video, it was the video that caused the unrest in Cairo, that precipitated some of the arrests in Benghazi. It was sparked by the reaction to this video. The video was a precipitating cause to the unrest, specifically in Libya. Might take advantage of a situation that was brought about initially as a response to the video in question.
Natural protests that arose because of the outrage over the video.
You are totally correct that they spent 2 weeks telling us this was about a tape and that there was this riot outside the Benghazi consulate, which there wasn't.
Natural protests that arose because of the outrage over the video.
I was in chronic pain, and my family struggling to make ends meet, food and gas prices going up, even keeping my job was iffy. Then I learned about a new miracle drug made in Washington, D.C., Spenditol. Spenditol is Washington's answer to all the painful problems Americans face. How to borrow $800 billion for a stimulus that didn't create jobs or fix the economy? Spenditol.
Spenditol is not for everyone. Side effects may include a mountain of government debt piled on our kids, a sudden loss of freedoms, higher prices for everything, leaving our kids a lesser America than we had. Ask your doctor or congressman if your conscience is strong enough for Spenditol.
And it's so popular in Washington, we have to import trillions more of it from China. Spenditol makes you feel better now and pushes off the really bad stuff till later, for them to deal with.
Call the White House and Congress. Tell them, stop spending it all.
Welcome back into the Palmetto Conservative Show here on the Conservative Broadcast Media Network. I'm your host, Jim Lee. Thanks for being here tonight. Moving right along. No show would be complete, regardless of what who you might want to listen to, without at least a little bit of a repertoire on the latest craze that's all the buzz, and that would be the fiscal cliff. My personal take on it, I'll go through some specifics on it here, but my personal take on it is it's really moot. This is all kabuki theater and much ado about nothing. Now, before you change that dial, before you click off of the program, please stay tuned. No, I'm not saying that this is in a serious situation. I'm not saying that there are not issues that need to be addressed. What I'm saying is that this is a moot argument. We have already gone over the fiscal cliff. We are laying in the canyon over the edge of the cliff, in the car, upside down, waiting for, I don't know, leprechauns or someone magical to come along and rescue us from the vehicle. To me, the argument we should be having, the discussion that we should be having, the adult conversation that should be taking place in Washington is not about the fiscal cliff. It's about whether or not we're going to be adults, put on our big boy girls and pants, big boy girls and big boys pants, and actually address the issue before us. And the issue is, we are at the bottom of the canyon. And are we going to take the steps necessary to begin building a ladder, if you will, building a means to get out of the canyon and get back up on the cliff? Or are we just going to continue to lay there, as is what's currently happening, or more actively, if we take some of the boneheaded steps that are being proposed both by the Republicans and the president. To my knowledge, Harry Reid hasn't proposed anything. He's just continuing to be the obstacle and recalcitrant majority leader of the Senate, adding no value in my view. But these two proposals would be the equivalent of taking a shovel or a pickaxe and continuing to dig deep into the terra firma, trying to make the canyon deeper rather than actually trying to get out of it. So for those who haven't followed closely, that aren't junkies when it comes to this stuff, let me just give you a quick primer on when they say fiscal cliff. What does it mean? Because it's more than one thing. Well, first of all, let's dispel the clouds, the fog. Let's shine some bright light on this. So, see if I can try this motif. Mr. Fiscal Cliff, please have a seat in this chair while I attach these handcuffs to your wrists and attach them to the arms of the chair. Would you like a cigarette, sir? No? All right. Well, excuse me while I turn on this lamp. Yes, it is rather bright. I apologize, but it's important. We need to make sure that as we ask these questions, that we can tell that you're giving us meaningful and real answers. So, Mr. Fiscal Cliff, tell me, who sent you here? Who's responsible for you even being here today, being interrogated by yours truly? What's that? Oh, it's not just President Obama? Really? Because, I mean, well, the mainstream media is telling me that it's the Republicans, and of course the Republicans are saying it's President Obama. It's both the Republicans and the Democrats that are responsible for this. Really? Well, does the president own any responsibility for you being here today? Oh, he asked you to come out and represent his position here on the local talk shows? That's funny. I appreciate that. Placating me won't help. The lights are going to stay on, and we're going to continue to ask you questions. All right, so let's move along. Tell me what you're all about. You seem like a decent enough guy. Tell me, describe yourself to me. Okay, so you are a compendium of bad economic policies all come together, all wrapped up in a pretty bow, and they've decided to put a tag on you called the fiscal cliff? Do I understand that right? Okay, so what makes up this compendium? Oh, the Bush tax cuts. So these would be tax cuts that George W. Bush alone managed to sign into law. Tell me, did he do this, using the power of the executive order, or or did he have some sort of special dictatorial powers that mere mortal presidents don't typically have? Oh, they were Bush era tax cuts that were enacted during the period of time when George W. Bush was president, that the House and the Senate both passed and the president signed and enacted into law. I see. And those tax cuts, those would be the tax cuts that are known as the evil tax cuts for the rich. Is that right? Oh, you didn't use the word evil, but they were just tax cuts benefiting the rich. Is that correct? Okay, so one of your characteristics, one of the things that part of the compendium that makes you up is that you are the Bush era tax cuts for the rich. What? They're for the rich, but you want to make sure that they're extended so that 98% of the people who are making less than $250,000 aren't hit with a tax increase? Well, I'm just a talk show host and sometimes talk show host, but wouldn't that imply that 98% of the people actually got a tax cut when they were enacted back during the Bush era? Oh, I understand. Yeah, the technical details. Okay, so what else? The Budget Control Act of 2011. Tell me about that, because the best I can tell, the federal budget has been out of control since well before 2011. It didn't seem to come into control in 2011, and come to think of it, I don't think we've had a budget since 2009. So what's that all about? Oh, okay. So this is the equivalent of that old gig. If you'll give me, I'll gladly pay you next Tuesday for a hamburger today. That because Congress couldn't agree to a meaningful deal in exchange for raising the previous debt ceiling, that they created this monstrosity known as the 2011 Budget Control Act, which, what did you say? Oh, in the unlikely case that Congress was unable to come up with a deal before the end of 2012, would implement mandatory spending cuts through what you guys have called sequestration. Interesting. Now sequestration is that a typical financial term? I mean, do accountants and businesses typically talk about their budgets and spending and whatnot in the framework of sequestration? No. Oh, I see. So it basically was a promise that, really we'll come up with a deal later, but just in case we don't, here's a baseline of things. And that baseline of things, is that something that both sides were otherwise comfortable with if, for some reason they couldn't come up with an agreement? Neither side is comfortable with them. So then why did they agree to it? Oh, none of them could imagine a time when they couldn't actually work together in a bipartisan fashion to do something that's in the best interests of America? What's that? Oh, the Democrats were okay with sequestration. They, in fact, would actually like to see it happen. But the Republicans, they're really uncomfortable with it. Well, then why did they agree to it in the first place? I can't repeat that on the air, sir. Let me see if I can rephrase. It has something to do with testicular fortitude and a spine? Is that what you said? That'll work? Okay, good. All right. Well, just sit tight in the chair there. Can I get you a glass of water or something? No, good. You're fine. You're listening to the Palmetto Conservative Show here on the CB Media Network. I'm going to take a quick break, be back on the other side. Stay tuned, and we'll continue our interview,